The U.S. Population Center is on track to move south without a westward extension. Does that make sense to you? It's for the first time in history by the end of the decade. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates the Northeast and Midwest parts of the country lost residents last year as the western part of the country grew by just a scant 153,000 people. But look at the South. 1.3 million new residents moved to Texas, Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. Those are among the fastest growing states. So what could this booming population mean for politics in these traditionally red states? NewsNation's On Balance host, Leland Vittert, is joining us right now. Leland, okay, first of all, people have been moving over the past few years. A lot of people moved based on the fact that they didn't want to deal with these COVID restrictions and lockdowns, so they wanted to move someplace where they could get more fresh air, have a little bit more liberty. Other people moved because of cost savings. Is there another reason why they're moving?
Crime, when you talk to people, is another reason they're moving. You talked about COVID restrictions. The cities that we've seen lose the most population are the big blue Democratic-run cities, New York, Chicago, and then you go out to Seattle, Boston, Philadelphia. The big American cities in the North and Northeast are getting hit. People are leaving for all sorts of reasons. You say cost, you could also add taxes to that. You can add jobs and opportunities. You think about the economies that are booming right now in Charlotte, in Tampa, in Nashville, through Texas, even Austin. Probably see one of the biggest population growths. That's a blue city, but it's in a red state.
Well, and I know a lot of baby boomers have decided to retire down south for some of those reasons as well as others. But is this particular age group showing traction that it either is becoming more conservative, even if originally quite liberal? And by explanation, we could see possibly the remnants or the indications of a red wave of some kind?
Well, you certainly saw Florida get redder in this past election if you go by Ron DeSantis' 20-point victory versus winning by 50,000 votes a couple of 4 years ago. Miami-Dade County, which has been largely Hispanic and very blue, flipped red in 2022. So specific to Florida, you are seeing a much deeper red. Texas, there's a lot of talk of it going blue. Is it going blue slower because of an influx of people, or going blue faster because of an influx of people in Austin? That's very, very hard to argue and really to pinpoint that it is because of this mass migration that suddenly the political winds are changing significantly in any one state.
And are we seeing more of this coming in the next year or two? I mean, are we going to continue to track this into 2024? How would it impact the elections?
That's why we have to have elections. We really don't know yet who the political makeup of these people who've migrated that you pointed out in your intro, and then what their political persuasions become and how well it's informed by living wherever they're living. At the congressional level, you might see it a little bit more. But remember, folks are folks. People tend to move and be with people like themselves. If you're very liberal, you're more likely to live in downtown Miami. If you're more conservative, you're more likely to move to the west coast of Florida into one of the big golf suburb destinations or golf development destinations. So there's very different views, shall we say, based on who exactly these people are.
And in Illinois, California, New York, they all lost about 100,000 residents. So what would that mean for those big cities?
Well, first of all, it means a much lower tax base, which is terrible, because remember, the people who are most easily able to move are the wealthiest, the most mobile, who traditionally have the highest incomes and who traditionally do the best and drive the economic growth in these cities. So that part's really hard for these cities. The second part is that it tends, and we've probably seen this a little bit, to change the dynamics in the suburbs more than it does in the cities, because these cities still have enormous populations. 100,000 people leaving Chicago probably doesn't all of a sudden change the political dynamic. But if you think about New York, especially suburban New York, and how a number of congressional districts flipped red, may not be because people are leaving, but it may be because the people who can't leave are upset over the same policies and the same issues that the people who did leave feel.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Good point. Leland Vittert, thank you for joining us early on this Wednesday morning. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.